It was January 2023. Chaos broke out in Brazil's capital, Brasilia. Supporters of former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro stormed and vandalized government buildings. They attacked the National Congress, Supreme Federal Court, and even the Presidential Palace. They smashed windows, broke furniture, and clashed with the police. But why did this happen? It all began with the 2022 presidential election. The supporters of Bolsonaro refused to accept the results of the election. They believed that the election had been rigged and that current President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva had won unfairly.
O Brasil precisa de segurança.
The idea was to pressure the military to step in and overturn the election. They wanted to prevent Lula from taking office and reinstall Bolsonaro as president. Now fast forward to 2025. On August 4, Brazil's Supreme Court placed Bolsonaro under house arrest. He is currently on trial and accused of trying to carry out a coup to stay in power after losing the 2022 election. Now, the house arrest order came after he was accused of breaking court rules by using his son's social media to incite attacks on the Supreme Court and call for foreign intervention. Authorities searched his home. His phones were seized. Visits have been banned. Only his lawyers and close family are allowed to visit. And more interestingly, an ankle monitor has been put on Bolsonaro so that his movements can be tracked and he cannot flee the country. Prosecutors say Bolsonaro led a criminal group plotting to stay in power after losing the 2022 election. The plan allegedly included assassinations of President Lula and Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes. It also aimed to arrest high officials and shut down key institutions. Investigators launched Operation Counter Coup. They used wiretaps, made arrests, and found meeting videos, all pointing to a larger plan involving military support and fake news campaigns to undermine the election results. But Bolsonaro denies everything. He calls the trial a witch hunt and says he is being targeted for political reasons. His lawyers plan to appeal the house arrest order.
There's no legal basis for him to force President Bolsonaro to control what third parties post on his social media. He didn't ask me to post. He had no intention of circumventing any precautionary measure. I did it because I am aware that I have the freedom to do this.
Opposition lawmakers in Congress staged a protest over Bolsonaro's house arrest. They covered their mouths with tape. After the house arrest order, Bolsonaro supporters gathered outside his residence.
We will not be silent in the face of everything that is happening. Brazil has awakened and we are in the streets again. We are fighting for freedom before it was one for all. Now we are all for one.
Meanwhile, security has since been tightened across Brasilia to prevent another attack like in 2023. Now, a US connection to this. But before that, see these visuals. If you remember, these visuals are of the US Capitol attack in 2021. Now you may wonder why we are showing this now. If you think carefully, what happened in Brazil in January 2023 looks very similar to what happened in the United States on January 6, 2021. In both cases, supporters of right-wing then former presidents Donald Trump in the US and Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil stormed their country's top government buildings. In the US, rioters broke into the Capitol to stop Congress from confirming Joe Biden's win. In Brazil, crowds invaded the Congress Supreme Court and presidential palace, demanding a military takeover to overturn Lula's election. Both groups claimed the elections were rigged or stolen. Both events were organized online with help from politicians, influencers, and ex-officials. Many experts say Brazil's attack was inspired by what happened in Washington. Now cut to the present times. This situation has caused a major diplomatic rift between Brazil and the United States, specifically with the Trump administration. US President Donald Trump, a political ally of Bolsonaro, has condemned the trials. Trump imposed a 50% tariff on Brazilian goods, linking it to what he calls an unjust prosecution. He has also criticized the trial as a witch hunt and demands it end.
Do you plan to talk to the Brazilian president about the tariff?
Maybe at some point I'll talk to him. Right now I'm not. They're treating President Bolsonaro very unfairly. He's a good man. You know, I know him well. I negotiated with him. He was a very tough negotiator, and I can tell you he was a very honest man, and he loved the people of Brazil. He was a very tough guy to negotiate with. I shouldn't like him because he was very tough in negotiation, but he was also very honest. And I know the honest ones, and I know the crooked ones.
The Trump administration also sanctioned Justice Alexandre de Moraes under the Magnitsky Act, accusing him of censorship and human rights violations. US officials revoked his visa and hinted at more actions against other justices. These moves have deepened tension between the US and Brazil. President Lula and Brazil's government strongly object, calling the sanctions an unacceptable interference. Bolsonaro's trial is ongoing. A verdict is expected before the end of 2025. If convicted, he could face years in prison. One thing is for sure: Bolsonaro's trial and house arrest mark a significant moment for Brazil's democratic history. That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you in the next episode with more raging issues. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Munmun Bhattacharya signing off. Take care and stay safe.